All right, guys, welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about the POWRi 410 series that starts their season this coming weekend on Friday and Saturday at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track. And I mentioned this in Monday's video that I was going to be doing this and kind of giving a preview, I guess, to the season, talking about the drivers that are going to be racing with this series this year because there are a lot of them. And it's kind of a new deal this year. I mean, this is turning into quite a big deal for regional sprint car racing. A really, really solid program they've got going on here with the POWRi 410 series. I want to double check. It is the POWRi Racing Honest Abe Roofing 410 Outlaw Sprints. Could not fit the logo here on the board, but a very long name for a series. But I think they're doing a lot of really good things, and curious to see how it grows for the next couple of years and how these guys and girls fare here in 2025 and see who the champion is of this series. Now, a couple of things, if you have not heard or you're not familiar with, this year they have 35 races. They had to take 2 off, what was it, yesterday or the day before, because I-70 Speedway is not going to be racing, it sounds like, this year. So 35 races this season for POWRi. They race in 8 states at 18 different racetracks. The features are a minimum of $5,000 to win and $500 to start. And there are 10 races that pay over $7,000 to win, including a couple of $10,000 to win shows as well. $150,000 points fund, with $50,000 of that going to the champion this year. Also, there are 16 drivers, as you can see on the board, because they have an Elite 16 program, I guess you could call it, that gives them appearance money at races, a random tire to each driver or to a driver per race, merchandise things where you could sell your merchandise out of the POWRi trailer, pit passes, all kinds of other stuff for that program to keep these guys going up and down the road for each of their races. So I did want to get into each of the drivers and kind of just talk briefly about them, because the thing is with this series, you're going to be seeing a lot of names maybe you have not heard of. Maybe there's some up-and-coming drivers that maybe you'll hear from in 5 years or 3 years. Maybe this is a good way for them to work their way up to the next step, which is, maybe doing a, true outlaw type schedule, or maybe one day we'll see them running with a full-time series like High Limit or the Outlaws. But it's a really, really good proving ground and a good start to making your way towards that progression ladder, right, to the top level of this sport. So we'll start things over here in no particular order, but with Noah Gass. And that's a guy that many people are familiar with. He ran 2 years on the Outlaw Tour. He is 22 years old right now, from Mounds, Oklahoma. He does have 1 career POWRi 410 win to his credit in 17 career starts with that series. So I do believe that Noah Gass is going to be a guy that finishes top 5 in the points this year with this series, and I wouldn't be shocked if he had 4, 5, or 6 wins this year. Noah Gass, he got a win last season with these guys, and I think with all that experience on the Outlaw Tour, that is certainly going to help him this year with POWRi. Now, the second driver they have signed on full-time this year is Kyle Jones, the 32-year-old driver out of Kennedale, Texas. His best ever run with this series was a 6th place run at the Lucas Oil Speedway in Missouri. He has 11 career starts with the POWRi 410 series. I do want to mention as well that this series only been around for 3 years, I believe. They've ran 2022, 2023, and 2024. The champion the last 2 seasons was Ayrton Jeniton. Before that, it was Roger Crockett, but they only had, I want to say, 10 races or so. But yeah, Kyle Jones, 11 career starts with the series, a 6th place run at Lucas Oil. He's more known, I feel like I know him more from midgets, but here recently he's been getting more into the sprint car stuff, and a good addition to the field this year with POWRi. Also on the list is Reese Moran, the number 22 M car, 18-year-old driver out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He has 9 career POWRi 410 starts. His best ever finish was a 2nd at the Creek County Speedway in Oklahoma. We've seen Reese Moran. We've seen Kyle Jones. I don't remember if Noah Gass has ran a High Limit race before yet, but Reese Moran, we did see him a couple of times last year with High Limit, ran with the Outlaws a couple times as well, so he has competed at some high levels. He could be a sneaky guy. I mean, I think they picked up a lot of speed at the end of last year, and a good pickup as well, another young driver for this series in 2025. Now, number 4 on the list is Preston Perlmutter, 24-year-old driver out of San Antonio, Texas. He only has 1 career start with the 410 series with POWRi. He was 23rd last year at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track. So Preston Perlmutter, have seen him a few times with the Outlaws. I don't think he's ran with High Limit quite yet, but a younger driver coming from the San Antonio, Texas area, and it should be fun to see how he is able to progress throughout the 2025 season. Did want to mention their season kicks off this weekend at Texas Motor Speedway's dirt track. The one thing I will say about that is they were supposed to run, I want to say 2 weeks ago to open the season, but the weather wasn't good, and they rescheduled it to this weekend when High Limit's racing in Arizona, and the Outlaws are probably the more prominent problem for them this weekend. They're racing in Lawton, Oklahoma, and at the 81 Speedway in Kansas. So a smaller couple of racetracks compared to Texas. And obviously it's going to pay a little bit better to go to the Outlaw shows if you make the show. So they could be hurting on cars at a big racetrack like Texas Motor Speedway this weekend. Number 5 on the list, another really young driver, and that is Lane Warner, number 122, 17 years old out of Bloomfield, Missouri. 9 career starts with the POWRi 410 series. His best ever finish was a 9th place result at the Lake Ozark Speedway. Lane Warner has been teamed up, I want to say here the last couple of years, with Joe B. Miller, and kind of Joe B's taken him under his wing along with Scotty Milan. But Lane Warner is a kid that does seem like he has some pretty good promise, and we'll see how he's able to fare this year with POWRi. Now getting into a couple of the elder statesmen of the series, Jack Potter, 39-year-old driver of the number 15 car. He is from Lee's Summit, Missouri. He has 8 career POWRi starts, and he was 10th last year at the I-70 Speedway. So Jack Potter, I think he was running Knoxville there for last year maybe, or the year before that, but been around a long time, 39-year-old driver, good a depth addition to the field here this season. Also Kevin Newton, Mr. Honest Abe Roofing himself, in the 16TH car. He might be driving the 14N. He drove that car a little bit at the end of last year, but I've got 16TH on the board for him. 58-year-old driver out of Terre Haute, Indiana. His best ever POWRi run was an 8th place result at the Lake Ozark Speedway, and he has 11 career POWRi 410 starts to his credit. Kevin Newton, everyone knows him as a sponsor of everybody. He's like kind of like Mesquite Valley Transportation, but Honest Abe Roofing sponsors everything, every series, it seems like, every driver. And Kevin Newton is an awesome dude, and he is a great addition to this field. I think he picked up a lot of speed at the end of last year and showed some bright spots throughout 2024. And we'll see how old Kevin Newton, old Scootin' Newton, can do with POWRi in 2025. Now, yet another young driver that is joining the series this year is Gage Montgomery, 17-year-old out of Fredericktown, Missouri. His best ever run in 14 career POWRi starts is a 6th at the Lake Ozark Speedway in Missouri. He drives car number 79, and his family is, legendary around, what's that racetrack? I'm forgetting it off the top of my head. Not Poplar Bluff in Missouri. The other one that, it seems like there's a couple of guys that race only at that track. I cannot remember off the top of my head. They have the Queens Royal there. I'll get it here in a minute. But Gage Montgomery has won plenty of times at that track, if I can remember the name of it off the top of my head. But Gage Montgomery, we saw him also a few times last year with High Limit, and he does show some speed every now and again. Still a very young driver, 17 years old. And that is a trend you'll see a lot here with POWRi. 17, 18. What else we got down here? 20 years old, 17, 16, 18. A lot of really, really young talent with the series this year. Now, number 9 on the list, and probably the favorite to win the championship this year with the series, is the 2-time and defending champion, Ayrton Jennison, 26 years old now out of Gravois Mills, Missouri. He has 5 career POWRi 410 wins to his credit in 45 career starts. And so Jennison, with just those numbers alone, is going to be the guy that I think everybody is chasing after this year to try and get that championship. I mean, he won it last year. I want to say it was $40,000 to win, or maybe $25,000 to win. But this year, with $50,000 on the line, Jennison, as soon as they announced that, you knew that he was going to come back and try to three-peat. Another guy that I think is very, very talented in very limited 410 wing sprint car starts so far is Xavier Doney, 20-year-old driver out of Odessa, Missouri, driving car number 74. He does have a POWRi 410 win to his credit in 39 career starts. And there were a few times last year with High Limit where he qualified very, very well at Lucas Oil Speedway. I want to say he qualified well, maybe once at I-70 very well as well. So Xavier Doney, I think this kid is going to win a couple of races this year with POWRi. He does have one to his credit right now. But, that's a kid that came from non-wing and kind of here recently has switched over to the wing stuff and has been very, very impressive here recently. He's driving one of those Schnee Lawson chassis. and so we'll see how he's able to go in 2025. Also on their roster is Scotty Milan, 23-year-old driver out of Fort Collins, Colorado. He was 7th at Lake Ozark last year in 11 career POWRi 410 starts. And Scotty Milan's another guy that has shown some promise here and there on the big stage as well. He's also, I want to say, teamed up with Joe B. Miller a little bit. Joe B. kind of helps both him and Lane Warner out. And Scotty Milan is a cool dude. And we'll see how he's able to go this year as well. Like I said, I think he has a top 10 with the Outlaws at Paducah, which is a track that POWRi goes to next year. So maybe Scotty Milan can pull off an upset victory this year. Now, we've already talked about her brother, but Natalie Doney is supposed to be in another 74 car this year. She is just 17 years old out of Odessa, Missouri as well. Her best run was a 14th place finish at the Missouri State Fair Speedway. Only 6 career 410 starts for her with the wing on top with the POWRi series. Really not a ton of winging sprint car experience for her altogether. But Natalie Doney and Xavier Doney, a pretty cool story there. Brother and sister going to be going up and down the road, just 17 and 20 years old. And so we'll see what the season looks like for her at the end of 2025. Now, down to our final row, the 13th driver we'll talk about is Miles Paulus. He is 26 years old. He is out of Marshall, Missouri. And in 11 career POWRi 410 starts, his best ever finish was a 4th place run at the Lake Ozark Speedway in that number 98P car. Really, really good looking race car. And Miles Paulus here just very recently has switched from the 360 side of things to the 410 stuff. I want to say last year was his first ever time racing a 410, and he did show some promise in those couple of starts. So Miles Paulus, we'll see how things go for him as well. And then a guy that I honestly, guys, I've never heard of before until he was announced racing for POWRi is John Barnard. 18 years old out of Sherman, Illinois, only has 1 career POWRi 410 start to his credit. He was 16th at Lake Ozark Speedway. I want to say that was in 2023. Did have a couple of scattered starts with MOA, a couple scattered starts with the Maverick Series last year as well. But this guy came from, I want to say, the fendered side of racing and is now switching over to sprint car stuff. So I'm not sure what to expect from John Barnard, but we've got his number on the board, and he has, announced his intentions to race with this series full-time in 2025 and try to get those benefits and maybe have a couple of good runs. Maybe see him up there in the point standings. I have no idea what to expect from this guy, but we'll see what he can do this year. Also, 15th driver we'll talk about is Reed Whitney, the youngest driver they've got signed on, 16 years old, out of Jasper, Indiana. 4 career starts with the series. Best ever run, 10th place at Lake Ozark Speedway. I don't know much about Reed Whitney as well. I want to say he came from the micro ranks and has won some races in micros. But that's all I've got for him right now. I really don't know what to expect from him, along with John Barnard, along with probably Natalie Doney. Those are some of the wild cards with the series this year. But Reed Whitney, 16 years old, maybe he's the next up-and-coming thing. We just haven't really heard about him quite yet, and maybe he can make some noise this year with POWRi. And the final driver we'll talk about, and maybe the most well-known on the board, besides maybe Noah Gass or Ayrton Jennison, is Joe B. Miller, the 34-year-old out of Millersville, Missouri. He does have 3 career wins with the series, and he has 30 starts with them as well. And I would say that the closest challenger to Ayrton Jennison for this championship is going to be Joe B. Miller. Had a lot of good runs with that series last year, had some good runs as well with the Big 2 series. And so Joe B., one of my favorite guys in the pit area, always love chatting with him. He's just such a low-key dude, and he's always keeping it real. So Joe B. Miller is the 16th and final driver. Now, guys who I think will win a race this year, just by looking at this list, I think you'll see Noah Gass get a win. I think you're going to see Joe B. get some wins. I think you'll see Xavier Doney get a couple of wins. Ayrton Jennison will obviously have a couple of wins as well. And then outside of that, maybe a Kyle Jones sneaks in there, maybe a Gage Montgomery. The rest of these guys, maybe Scotty Milan. The rest of them are just, starting to get their feet wet in 410 sprint car racing. And they're just hoping to have some decent runs throughout the year. But those guys, I think, will be, winning the most races. When it comes to the championship, I think it's going to be Ayrton Jennison, followed by Joe B. Miller. Then I want to say Noah Gass, then Xavier Doney. And then after that, 5th in points, I'm going to go with Kyle Jones because he's got a lot of experience in racing as far as midgets go and whatnot. So that would be my top 5 in points. Let me know your guys' thoughts. What do you think about this roster they've put together for the POWRi series? It's going to be a big year for them. All of their races will be on start to finish TV. I do not have that, so I plan on watching all of the highlight videos on YouTube and trying to keep up the best I can with this series because They are set for a really big year, and we'll see what it grows into in the coming seasons as well. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. These guys race, once again, like I said, Friday and Saturday at the Texas Motor Speedway Dirt Track. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe, hit like, comment down below, and we'll talk to you guys again here soon.